Hey you guys, I'm back in my studio for the demo of the black and white painting. You don't necessarily have to use black for this painting, but you do want to use one dark color and white. So in this video I used phthalo blue, but that seemed too intense. I hope this isn't too technical. So I mixed my phthalo blue with a little burnt umber. So that's a dark blue color with a dark brown color, and that makes pretty much a black paint. And then I used that mixed color with white to do the painting. Because my original image was very bluish, I have a lot of the phthalo blue. The phthalo blue is the more dominant color in that color mixture. Again, if this is way too technical, just choose one color, black or a blue or a brown, and use that one color with the white to do the painting. For this painting, you want to make sure that your drawing is accurate at the start and that you also have a contrast. Sometimes when we paint, we're a little cautious about making our shadows dark, and so we end up with really light shadows. So in the very end, we end up with a really gray painting. We don't want a gray painting. We want a painting with strong contrast, which has really strong darks and really powerful lights as well. So you're going to probably have to force yourself to go darker than you would usually want to go. Our first step is to tone the canvas. Toning the canvas means getting rid of the white of the canvas. So I'm going to start with thinned out paint. For this, I'm using oil paint, and I'm using titanium white and phthalo blue for my particular picture. I'm going to begin by using a big brush, my size 8 brush, and I'm going to mix a lot of my turpentine to the phthalo blue. If you were using acrylics for this, you would just add a lot of water to whatever your dark color was. So I'm going to make a little puddle on my palette of that thinned out color. And then using my big brush, I'm going to try to match the dark areas of my image with dark areas on my canvas. So I'm putting in like the dark areas of the nose, dark areas of the eyes. I never want to forget about my background though. So I want to also, as I work on the skull and the flowers, take a break and switch and work on the background as well. And that will be true for this whole painting. We will be working on the object and then working on the background, then back to the object and back to the background. Painting is about a relationship, and so those two things influence and relate to each other. Still using that size 0 brush, I'm just trying to block in all the dark areas on my canvas. Now I'm going to take a moment and let that dry. It's good to take a break and look at your painting and see about your dark areas. Now I'm going to go back and redraw the image using a small brush. When I took a break and looked at my painting, I didn't like the blue color, so I'm also going to add in some burnt umber to neutralize that blue. So I'm going to add, with a palette knife, a little burnt umber and a little of the phthalo blue, a lot of the phthalo blue added together. It makes a black color. Now I'm going to redraw the image, so I still want thinned out paint, but now I'm going to use my size 0 brush, and I'm just going to add some turpentine. Again, if you're using acrylics, you would add water to your paint to make it a little thinner, and I'm going to redo my drawing. I love the skull, so you can see I keep on going to the skull, but I'm going to work a little on the skull, then also try to add in some details to that, the flowers on top. And then at this point, I can just kind of play around with that thinner. If I want them slightly lighter detail, I'm going to add more thinner to my paint, but you don't want to get too crazy with that. Okay, my step 3 is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of this painting, and I'm just going to be mixing in all different grays, or in this case, different shades of blue. So I add white, and I start making puddles on my palette of just different shades of blue. And I'm looking at my picture, and I'm looking at my canvas, and I'm just trying to match them as much as possible. In art, we have this idea about large form and small form. At this stage of my painting, large form is important. So what that means is I'm trying not to do small details, but I'm using a bigger brush, like a size 4 brush, to just block in overall darks and overall lights and overall grays. I'll save the details for the end. And I'm trying also, you'll see continuously, I'll work on the skull, then I'll work on the background, work on the flowers, maybe work a little more on the background. Like, you don't want to just focus on one area of the painting and finish that. Everything relates to each other, so you have to kind of try to work on them, like just keep on bouncing back and forth. And then the other thing to think about besides what you're working on is how dark you're going. It's really important to push yourself to go dark. We tend not to want to go dark, so try to push yourself to see how dark it should be. This paint just has a little bit of white added to it, so we're trying to mix different colored grays or blues in my case. And I'm switching my paint brushes. If I'm doing a big area, I'm using a big paintbrush. You need to step back every once in a while and make sure you've covered the white. Like, we don't want white gaps showing in our painting. I have some on my flowers I'm gonna have to deal with. And then as we keep painting, you would start working to the details. So once the large form or the overall thing is taken care of, you would start adding in smaller details. Now, at a certain point, I'm using a printed out picture, and the whites, the lights of my picture are really bleached out. They look really similar. So pretty soon, I'm going to look up the image on my phone and use my phone to give me more detail. I would suggest doing this if you printed out your picture. Go back to the photo source. So you could either use your phone or a laptop computer or some kind of computer to see details. And the good thing about your phone is you can zoom in really easily and see what's happening. So I'm using my size 0 brush and I'm just adding in details. Oh, I'm actually using a 2. And it's good to like step back every once in a while. Like, I've edited this so I'm not taking breaks, but it's good to take breaks so you can see details. Now I'm using oil, so I'm actually going to step away for a day. At a certain point, my paint is very wet on the canvas and it's hard for me to change it. So I'm going to walk away for a day and then come back and look at the painting. And I really suggest all of you doing this. So trying not to do the painting all in one session, but sometimes when we're painting, it doesn't really make logical sense, but you'll experience this. When you're painting, you're looking at something and you get so focused on it, you can't see the mistakes. So if we can walk away for a little bit and come back, you'll be like, oh my gosh, the background needs to be a lot darker. So I really suggest trying to do this painting over 2 days, if not like 3 days. Okay, again, I'm using oil, so I need to take that break to see what needs to be changed, but also to be able to go back and change it. So that day of having the paint dry allows me to go back, and I'm mainly lighting things up at this point. I'm using white paint or just really light blues and going back and adding in details, touching things up. So now on this day, it's totally detail time. And I just want to look overall, make sure drawing makes sense and I have good value contrast, and then I should be finished. Okay. Thank you, you guys. Good job.